Why do nuclear insurance pools exist? There are three significant reasons. The first of which is the law of large numbers. This is what all insurance is predicated on, or what is referred to as the spread of risk or diversification. Then there are the very high limits of insurance required. And thirdly, there is nuclear liability public policy mandated by the government and the insurance community responding to this need. The law of large numbers, or diversification. The law of large numbers says that if you have a huge number of insured risks, then you can predict losses and loss costs to determine what the premium should be for each of those risks. However, there are a limited number of nuclear risks in the world, about 440. Even if there were 1,000 nuclear power stations in the world, that number is still infinitesimal compared to cars or houses. So the law of large numbers doesn't work for nuclear. A single insurer just can't take on one of these risks because there's not enough of what we call diversification, or spread of risk. Large limits required. The other thing is, insureds need very high limits, both for liability and for physical damage. Very, very high limits. One insurance company can't do that alone. If you can't quantify a risk, it's an uninsurable. Your house, we know it's worth $1 million. Your car, if it's a Mini, it's worth X amount. If it's a Tesla, it's worth Y amount. It doesn't matter how much it costs, because if it has a set dollar amount, insurers can get their heads around that concept. But an unlimited limit of liability for 10 years? No one can get their head around that. Government involvement. Back in the late 1950s, governments approached the global insurers and said, "We need you to insure nuclear power." At first, the insurers said, "No way." Government said, "We want to use nuclear power for peaceful purposes. We want to exploit this opportunity for the benefit of all, and we need your help." The insurers thought about this long and hard, and then said, "Okay, if you do this, this, and this," and basically outlined the principles that are in the Nuclear Liability Conventions to create a virtual box. Insurers could get their heads around how it could be possible to provide coverage for this emerging technology. The conventions created a quantifiable box to insure. The conventions limited the liability both in time and amount, and only the operator is held liable. As a result of establishing international conventions, nuclear insurance pools were created, consisting of many individual insurers, to amass the amount of capacity needed for the insurance needs of nuclear power stations. There are three significant supports. We have 1, diversification of insurers through the pools. 2, government involvement through the conventions. And 3, the very low number of insureds requiring very high limits of insurance that make up the 3 supports. That's why there are insurance pools in the nuclear industry.